So this last weekend, the AOJ team had an amazing performance at Pan Kids. We went with 62 kids, and we were able to bring back 30 gold medals, like many silver, many bronze. And I feel like the kids team has been the heart of AOJ since the beginning. Like we started 12 years ago, and the goal was always to create a very strong foundation with the kids team. And then that kids team would eventually become like the juveniles, the adults, and the black belt world champions. And I think the kids team not only like produce the champions, but I think sets the standard for the academy in terms of quality, right? That's why I wanted to invite you guys to do this video today, because you guys are two of the top competitors from the academy. You guys are two of the main instructors in the academy for kids and adults. And I think regardless of having different backgrounds, like Tainan, like being born in Brazil, you being born here, you both like fall in love with jiu-jitsu very early in your when you guys were little kids. And then you both made the decision of moving to AOJ in chasing professional training, chasing an environment where you guys could grow and achieve the highest level. And I feel like you guys had a very successful career in the lower belts, like as a kid, and then as like a blue belt, juveniles, then adults, and now you guys are in the black belt, which is, I feel like, the goal for all these kids that are competing to become like black belts that are not only good, but they're working with jiu-jitsu and they're influencing the next generation like, as early as they can. So let's start like I have like a couple like topics that I want to talk about, and like some of them are things that people are asking online. And the first one I think is like we can all share experience, because I think it's the most important probably. Like what do you guys feel? I'm gonna give my perspective first, and then I want to hear from both of you guys. What do you guys feel like is like the most important thing for a kid to succeed in jiu-jitsu, you know? I'm gonna be fast with mine. To me, I think the most important factor to be successful is the environment, and this is the main focus from AOJ, and I say that like almost like every interview that I talk about the kids program and the academy. I think like everything that happens, like all like the successful adults, successful kids, like every achievement that we have is a result of the environment. And the environment, it's like all the people that are in the room, all the effort put there, and like I think like the things that we focus on, and I think it's a work from everyone in the group, you know. It's not like I don't like to say like I'm responsible for the success of the kids program or for the black belt becoming a world champion. I think like us as leaders and professors, like we're doing the best job we can to produce a very good environment that will allow people to succeed. And their part of the deal is to bring the effort and put the work and go after their dreams, like compete as much as they can, train as much as they can, study as much as they can. But I feel like the good result will only happen when you have this combination of like the good environment with a lot of effort from the student. And if you have this combination, for sure, like the result will be very positive. But if you lack in one of this, like you end up not having the results that you want. And a lot of times, like people, they have very good technique. They have a lot of potential, but they don't have the environment. That's why they search, like they try to come to a place like AOJ in terms of like trying to find this environment that produces that has a lot of people with the same mentality that they have. And like every academy, like including AOJ, you have like a very good environment. And sometimes you have these students that don't have the right effort or don't want to put the right effort, and like, so you don't, with those particular students, you end up not having the same type of results. So I think like only the academy and the environment being good is not enough, and only having the desire to succeed and not having the right environment, you probably will not achieve good results too. So I feel like for everyone watching, like parents and young students, like I feel, to me, based on my experience, like the combination of these two, it's what makes everything become, I think, like special, and that's what we have a lot now in the academy. We have a large group of people that are willing to pay the price, and we have a crew of people, instructors, staff that are willing to make the environment very productive too. So it's really good. Let's start with you, Tainan. What do you feel like coming to AOJ and like being a part of the kids program now, becoming like for a while you have been like teaching, like since Blue Belt you have been helping the class, and now leading the kids program with other instructors. What do you feel like is the most, if you can point, like what do you feel is the most important thing for a kid to become very good at jiu-jitsu?
Well, in my experience, I think I had a very strong support system coming from my parents, and they understood that what I need to do in order to reach my full potential. So they allowed the professors to do the work with me. They allowed me to really express myself in terms of my goals and what I wanted to do with my life and what I wanted to pursue as my future. And I think that really started everything for me. And then eventually coming to AOJ, and like how you mentioned, being in the environment with the group, with people that I've always looked up to, and with people that succeeded in doing what I wanted to do for my future. I think with all this combined together, I was able to push forward and accomplish my goals a lot earlier, because I felt that the support systems that I had with my parents, I also had at AOJ with you and your brother, and also the competitors. I felt like when I came, everyone took care of me, everyone helped me, and with that, I feel like they guide me in the right direction. So I think like when you have people, the right guidance, and I've seen people sometimes have a strong support system, but that leads in too much pressure into it, where they can't perform, or sometimes in the gym, they're not able to really show their potential. It can be done in the wrong direction. So the support system that my parents gave to me and allowed pretty much you guys to like raise me and give me all the guidance that I need to succeed in the sport, I think was a strong point for me. And combined with everything that you just mentioned, it just was perfect. So I was able to come as a kid, experience the training, the group. I felt like I was behind because I came from a smaller gym in Brazil, no kids competitors at all. But eventually, in my juvenile years, I started to catch up. I started to do a lot more extra work, and since the beginning, I knew that my decisions, my daily decisions, would eventually lead to where I wanted to get to. So I think like that would be my point.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I definitely agree with what Tainan was saying just now. I think we have a very similar story. So a lot of the stuff that we say is going to go hand in hand. And for sure, I think for me, I wouldn't be where I am without the support system of my parents. And I think that whenever we made the move to California, that really showed me, because I was old enough to realize then, really showed me how much they sacrificed. And I think when we got here, they did a good job of letting me show my work and letting me showcase my personality, which has always been to be the hardest worker in the room. And I think when you have both of those, you've got a good support system and you've got a really good work ethic to match. And also, I think being really coachable. I think that's something that has helped me along my path, is regardless of who it is, regardless of who I'm training with, there's always a way that you can learn. And going into a big academy like like AOJ, like Art of Jiu-Jitsu, I knew that there would be people that would know more than me. And I came from a smaller gym, just like him, originally coming from Texas. But whenever I first got to AOJ, I knew that I had to go there, show my work, and then be somebody that they wanted to work with as well. You don't want to be the person in the room that people have a hard time working with because you think you know everything, or you think you've won all these titles, and that puts you on a pedestal. Instead, I knew that I had had success leading up to that point, but I knew that it could go even further. And trusting in you guys and being coachable is what allowed me to go to the next level.
Yeah, and one thing that you guys mentioned too, I feel like being coachable is important. And when you talk about like the kids program, I feel like it's always a combination of like having the parent, the kid. Like you have to have like a good relationship. Like the environment like needs to be productive, but the parent needs to allow it to happen. And I think, of course, like over 12 years working with AOJ, like we collect a lot of experience, and like we are in the best phase we have ever been to. And to me, like every time I have the opportunity to talk to a parent, and it happens like almost daily, where like I'm trying to give advices and explain, and I'm also living like this moment too, where I have my kids like competing in jiu-jitsu. So I think like there is no better time to give this type of advice, because like they see what I'm doing every day. I think whenever you're thinking about having your kid in the environment and pushing like your kid to the next level, like you want people to support them as much as possible. And how can you create that? That's like the main question, right? Like I want the coaches to give a lot of attention to my kid. I want the teammates to like my kid. I want the sponsors to eventually start looking to my kid. I want the opportunities to go to events. Like, how does that happen? I feel like the parent has like a big impact when it comes to that, and a lot of them don't realize that. Because when you're the type of parent that you're always stepping up and trying to get involved in everything, and especially if you're doing it in a very negative way, where like, oh, like that kid is like, you're trying to, like, oh, that kid's trying to hurt my kid, or like, ah, this person is giving more attention to this person instead of my kid. You're always like trying to create like some sort of argument instead of like being a positive person. I think it pushes like everybody away, and that you end up damaging the environment that it could be very productive for your kid. So for me, like for example, like I have my kids in the class. Like by the time like we were doing the kids class, I'm a parent. Like I'm sitting there like watching my kids train, but I try my best to never get involved. Like I go there, I do my job. I trust the system that we have. I trust all the coaches, and I try to influence my kids to be really nice to everybody. Like regardless of the person being really nice to them or not, like their job is to focus on growing and creating a good environment. So go the extra mile and be nice to everybody. And I think like for me, like I have to do the same thing on the outside. Like be nice to all the parents, like be nice to every person that can possibly get in contact with my family or my kid, because you're creating that layer of protection where like everyone will like you. They will have no reasons to not like your kid or your family. And I think that becomes something that empowers your kid much more, because they're going to be more confident like in their journey, and people will be, I feel like, more willing to help them, right? And of course, like along the way, like I had contact with like many different types of parents, right? Like the ones that were extremely supportive, like, and every parent that has like the right intention. I think like every parent, like when they're trying to help their kids, for them their kids is the best, for them their kids is like the most special thing, and like we'll always be like this, like and that's how it's supposed to be. Like the parents should be protecting their kids as much as possible. But whenever you're, I think like jiu-jitsu, and especially competition, will force your kid to step out of the comfort zone, and stepping out of the comfort zone a lot of times means like facing challenges and having to deal with it. And if you are stepping up and you are dealing with your kids' problems, or like you're trying to avoid anything from happening, like you're not letting them reach their full potential, right? So one thing that happened to me multiple times, and like I want to hear your guys' perspective, where like my kids training, and then sometimes like they come to me and they're like, oh, like they start crying. They're like, oh, that person like was rough to me or something like this, which is like in kids jiu-jitsu, like I feel like it's normal in jiu-jitsu and it's normal in kids jiu-jitsu because like a lot of times like kids just being spazzy or extremely aggressive, and like the other kid does not have a lot of control yet, so they end up like getting hit or something. But I always say the same thing. I was like, I just continue to train, and like if the person like is doing something wrong, the coach will tell them. Like the coaches are there watching, and your job is just to like use like your technique to protect yourself and try to win the rounds. And every time they were like, oh, like, but this is happening. I was like, if you have anything to say, like, go to the coaches and tell them, and like they can give you their perspective. But like, I have always, since the very beginning, tried to avoid being the messenger, you know, like the person that will go there and like tell the coach what my kid is saying. I always try to have them talk to the coaches, even when like they're not ready. I would like try to go there and tell them, look, like that's what you need to do, that's what you need to try to do. And then in case I had to mention something to the coach, I would always bring my kids and like teach them how to do, you know. And we got to the point where like I feel like both of my kids are very comfortable like having like solving this type of problems. And of course like they might face like different like challenges in the future, but I think this is my approach to try to create the best environment I can with like the whole team, all the coaches, all the teammates, all the parents. And even if I was not like an instructor in the academy, or like if I was just like a regular parent, I would have the same approach, you know, because I think that's what it needs to be done to create this good environment that I was mentioning and allow the kids to succeed. For you guys, like, of course, like you always get like many different parents, like many different like approaches, right? Like we have a very strong rule system. I think that facilitate a lot like to deal with like everything that happened and educate the parents a lot. So the parents all do a good job right now in the academy, because like we have been like always like reinforcing the rules and teaching them like what to do. And I hope this video can teach a lot of the people that are not in the academy. They ask questions a lot about how we deal with these problems or the kids program. But I think like I'm gonna ask Cole first now. Like for you, like what like an ideal like scenario is like the relationship between like a parent, like a kid, and the instructor?
Well, I think your goal as an instructor is to try to make the kid feel very comfortable with you. And I think that's one thing that we've developed very well at AOJ is if there is a problem now, the kid usually goes straight to the instructor. Mm-hmm. That's how it should be. The kid is supposed to feel comfortable on the mats. They should want to feel comfortable and like they're having fun on the mats. And like you were saying, if there's ever any problems, you want the kid to go to the instructor first. And I think that's how you end up having a good relationship between the kid, the instructor, and the parent. The last thing you want is the kid to not feel comfortable with the instructor and then go and complain to the parent, and then now you're having trouble between the parent and the instructor. Mm-hmm. And when you start having trouble between instructors and parents, that's how you start disconnecting yourself away from having a good relationship between the two. And one thing that's always helped me out is having a very good relationship with my professors, with my old professors as well, and being a good teammate and a good student. And whenever you are that person, it's very easy to work with you. Mm-hmm. People want to work with you. It makes you more attractive. So I think that's one thing that I feel is very important, at least in my classes. Whenever there is trouble with one of the kids, if something happens in a round of sparring, they come to me, we address it, and we move on. And it's like you said, jiu-jitsu is a combat sport, so sometimes stuff is going to happen, like sometimes there's going to be scuffles, but as long as it's controlled and it's a good environment, then we can keep moving forward and everybody can keep getting better. So
yeah, and I wanted to ask you, Tainan, like we always talk about this, and like we have been working together to assist and like train the younger coaches to have the right attitude on the mat and like to learn how to solve problems. And like since the beginning, you have been very confident like doing that. I remember even when you were like a blue belt or a purple belt in the very beginning, like I would, if we were having any type of issue or would have like to answer any question to a parent or something, I would like tell you like, I can do it, but I want you to go there and like solve this problem so you learn how to do it. And a lot of times, like I think one issue that happens in the academies is that the instructor is not confident enough to establish the rules or to enforce the rules whenever someone is breaking the rules. You know, a lot of times like it's like a very good student is breaking the rules, or like you don't want to deal with the parents, so you end up like pretending you don't see or something like this, and you're just pushing the problem forward, and that becomes a snowball that you can't deal with that later. And I feel like what would be like the advice that you give to people, especially like academy owners or like coaches, to deal with these problems? Let's say you have like a parent that even when they're wrong, like they're complaining, they're coming with like they have like an issue. My kid cannot train with this kid because this kid is rough, or that kid's trying to hurt my kid, or like the instructor is giving more attention to this student than this student. Like it's always like this type of approach where like a lot of the coaches, if they're not confident in their system, like in the academy system, they're not going to know what to answer. Like, what do you recommend, like to the coaches, to do to train for this type of like situation?
I think to train this is really put yourself into that position and really take it on. And the reason why I like to step forward during those moments, because coming from me, I feel like I don't get misunderstood. I feel like I don't even see as breaking the rules. Most of the times I see as them not knowing my type of work yet, what I expect from the parents, what I expect from the students, and also the type of environment that I'm trying to create during the training sessions. So I like to right away address the situation and make sure they understand how to behave when I'm teaching or when their kids are in my classes. I think like the parents, like you said, you want to help your kids, you want your kids to succeed, you want to do the best job as you can possibly do. And I feel like the parents that I see at AOJ, the ones that I'm comfortable with, I feel like they allow their kids to build their communication skills. And I think that helps me to create a bond with my students. And I feel like that way they progress much faster. I think like it's difficult to help someone that maybe you don't have a relationship with, or maybe even me as professor, I don't feel as comfortable going and trying to help because maybe I'm not close enough with that kid, or maybe I know that the parent is too much on top of them, so I don't really want to engage into that. So I like to explain to the parents what I feel is their best way to help. And I feel like the best thing to possibly think if you're joining a team, or if you're in the academy bringing your kid, is to try to stay away from the drama as much as possible, to not bring any problems, and understand the timing. I feel like kids, they pick different timing. Some kids, they do earlier on and they get really good at a young age, and some kids, they take a few years until they realize what they really want to do and start taking it more serious. I feel like the worst thing to do is really the comparison. I feel like that's the biggest problem and issue that a professor can have, understanding that, or knowing that the kid's parents is comparing them to somebody else and trying to get involved. I feel like it hurts the relationship as son and parents, right, as son or daughter, and also hurts the relationship between the professor and student. So I think like as a coach, try to address that right away, try to explain what's the perfect scenario that the parent can build for you in order for you to help their kids. And there's no better way to address this straight to the person, So I trust the team that we have as coaches. I know that I'm also trying to help because we have younger ones coming in and joining and start coaching. But I always try to explain to the parent and take it on this issue if it's presented by them, or if I know that maybe they've had problems before, or maybe, like you said, my kid cannot train with this kid. I try to explain that, you know, if these kids are the best training partners to each other, I'll put them together. I'll make sure that I'll control the intensity. I'll make sure that I build the environment. But maybe the intensity comes from the outside, you know, comes from the comparison, comes from the pressure that parents put into them, you know. So I think I try to understand that, and then pretty much try to do my best work on the mats.
Yeah, I feel like definitely like the coaches will always get attracted to like the families or the kids that come with like the best intentions, you know, with like if the relationship is very healthy, like if it's like not toxic, I feel like the coach will get involved and they will get close to the kid and help a lot. But it's very hard to get connected to a student if you know the parents, like you said, are comparing them with somebody else, or the kid is constantly crying because the parent is putting a lot of pressure, or you're teaching the kid, but they're not really connected to you. They're like, most of the time they're looking to the outside, trying to find their parents for approval. So I think these are the kind of stuff that make you lose motivation as an instructor. And the kids, they're very, like, they communicate with you, they ask the questions, like they're not looking to the parents. The parents don't give any problem. The parents can be there, they're just sitting and watching, but never like interfere in your teaching. I think like these are the people that you end up like connecting like the fastest, and they end up benefiting from the class much more. And I think that's what's important for the parents. I think a good example, and I mentioned like one of the videographers like at Pan Kids, like I was sitting on the sideline, right? Like, and I was watching, and you're coaching Ace every match, right? And then and there were times where like you were not there and I was coaching, but like he was like, oh, it's like the most important competition, why you're not sitting there? And I told him, because I'm not his professor, I'm his dad. I was like he's his professor. And then he was like, oh, but like, don't you think like you're capable of sitting there? Like he was laughing, like saying that. And I was like, yeah, I know I'm capable of doing it, but like, it's not my my position to be. Like he's the instructor, like I'm the parent. And I feel really happy to be doing that, because I'm starting very early to separate things. Like I'm the dad, like he can come to me, talk about things, and he can tell me how the training went and like everything, perfect. But like anything that's related to his progress in jiu-jitsu, or any issue that happens on the mat, or any plan that he has, like will be with his professor. And this is just the start. And that's how I want to be, like, you know, like it doesn't matter like how successful he becomes in the future. Like I want to be the dad, as supportive as I can be. And I want him to have a relationship, a very strong bond with his instructor. And they will be working together for his career to excel and for him to achieve everything that he wants. But that's the decision that I made at very young, like early age, like of like I'm gonna be the instructor for my students, and if my kids are training with like another instructor, like I'm gonna be the dad and not the instructor. I'm not gonna step up. It doesn't matter if I'm your instructor or not. Like you're the instructor of my kid, and I'm gonna respect that, you know. And I think and we all lead by example, right? Like if I was doing differently, like I would be setting a very bad example for all the other parents. And that's why it was important to do that. So like, of course, there are scenarios where like the kid, like for example, like I'm gonna give you guys a scenario where the parent can be helpful, and it's a totally different situation. And I deal with Ayla, like she's the type of person that she's not very involved yet with like competition or jiu-jitsu. She does the competition because everyone else is doing, but it's not her passion yet, or like she's not very like confident in the competition yet. So I feel that on that side, like she did not create yet like any type of bond or connection strong enough, like with the coach, that's strong enough for her to overcome that fear. So I feel like my presence is still needed in that situation, because I feel like if I am not there, like helping her and like supporting her, she's not gonna do it. So there's no other option. But like I have been doing the same work with her and telling her, look, like we have been doing private lessons a lot. Like I have been getting like a female instructor to do a private lesson with her, like to try to connect with her as much as possible. And then my goal is to pass on to the instructor and have the same situation that I have with Ace happening. So yes, like you said, I try not to compare. Like people are different. They come with different like mindsets, and like they have different timing too. Like some of them mature earlier, or they are like naturally more competitive and more willing to go out there, and like they're not very, very shy. And some are more, I feel like, shy or like more concerned about like the outcome or what people are gonna think, and like she is like that. But like the goal for every parent is to be as supportive as you can, but allow the coaches to take the job and like go there and be the coaches, you know. I feel like even when we are in the competition, if you're coaching and the parent is screaming louder than you, like it's destroying the environment in the competition for your own kid. Like your kid like has a coach there that's supporting them, it's giving instruction, and they have a way of working. Like maybe like it's not as desperate and loud as you think it has to be. Maybe like the coach, and most of the time, like I try not to be desperate. I try not to be super loud. I try to stay calm and show that I'm calm to the students, so it like it can calm them down and help them. And the parent, like they're normally more nervous than the students because like they don't know how to react, and like by showing that in the way they're screaming and coach, like they're destroying all the work we're doing in the training, and they don't realize that. And more I have been approaching parents and telling them like try not to do that, because even if you're cheering on your kid, like the intensity of your cheering, like the way you're screaming, it's adding more pressure to an environment that is already stressful. Like your kid's already under stress, your kid's already nervous, scared of losing. When they hear you screaming and they know that you're nervous, that's why you're screaming that loud and like with that intensity, you're creating another layer that will make it difficult for them. So as a coach, you have to do the opposite. You need to calm things down, and I think like your voice, your commands, the way you talk to them, it's like I think it's the most important thing, because you guys know as a coach there's not much that you can do to help like that kid. Like everything happens in the moment there. It's hard to give like a technical advice. You can help like with one thing or other, but I think it's more of like making that stressful moment becoming as peaceful as it can be. That's the main task for the instructor. And a lot of times like the parent can just destroy that type of work without knowing, with the good intentions, you know, good intentions, but like not having guidance, like will result in a disaster. I wanted to ask like you guys, what do you guys think like whenever you guys are teaching the class? And of course, like we have like a system for that, and I want to hear from you guys. Like we have kids that have different potentials based on their maturity on the mat. Some of them, even if they're younger, they're already way more focused. They're already like more developed. Like their personality is more developed, so they are able to take much more. And some kids are like not behind, but like if you're doing like the way we do level 1, 2, and 3, like you're gonna have like 2 different levels inside of the same level. And we normally try to split as much as possible to create like the best groups for us to teach. Like, what do you guys think? Like, as a parent, normally they ask, why that kid is doing berimbolo or X guard sweep, and my kid's still doing armbar from close guard. Mm-hmm. Like, what would be your approach if a parent, like I'm gonna ask you, Cole, first. If a parent asks you, I say, look, like why you're teaching that kid such an advanced move and you're teaching my kid a very basic move?
I mean, I think there's a couple things you got to think about. Number one is like, what are the kids' goals? Those kids that are learning barambolos and doing X guard sweeps, those are all like competitors, and that's like their career. They wanna do it to be able to compete, and they're trying to be the best in their division. And then I think if your goal is to get there, you need to make sure that the coach knows your goals too. A lot of the kids that I work with, their parents are very, very open about the kids' goals and what they're trying to do. And of course, you're trying to always make sure it's a good environment for everybody in your group, everybody in your class. But I think the best thing you can do is outline what all of the kids need, and the kids that start exceeding that level and showing extra effort and showing results in sparring and during the techniques and showing their curiosity, that's how you see when a kid is going up. And I always try to make sure that I'm very transparent with the parents too. So if their kid is doing really well, or if I see that they're struggling a little bit more than they have to, I go and talk to the parent and I tell them a couple things that I think maybe could help out the kid. And one thing I try to talk about too is for the parents, not just to be quiet, like they can let us do our jobs, but to try and enforce everything that we're talking about in the class. So if there's an ongoing issue that you know the kid is just struggling with or has been struggling with for a while, I try and let the parent know, like, hey, like I know it might seem slow, but he's making progress or she's making progress, and this is what I'm trying to do. This is how I'm trying to take them to the next level. So they know that there's actually a goal there and that we're actually working towards something. And I think whenever you let the parent know that, you let them know that you are trying, you do see what's going on, and you're trying to get them to that next level that they want to get to. But if they're not there, you don't want to put a kid in a group that they don't feel motivated in or they don't feel like they belong. Then the kid starts feeling like he has no friends in the group, like everyone else is much better. He gets beat up in training every day. Like you want it to be a happy experience.
That's how they quit normally.
For every kid, yes. And I think whenever you make it a good training for everybody ends up having fun in the end. And like it or not, that's how you get better. And if the parent is enforcing everything that I'm working with the kid, I think it makes a good relationship for everybody.
Yeah. And Tainan, for you, like we faced this situation multiple times before with the students, and I think like it's important for coaches to know too. A lot of times we have the students that work really hard and they go to the competition and they end up losing, which is normal. We all have been through these situations. And what's normally like your advice to a student that worked really hard, that does everything that is necessary to do to win the competition? And it's very painful for the instructor whenever you have this type of scenarios, because you connect really well with the people that work hard, right? Like we grew up doing that. So you really want the person to succeed and the work to pay off, to show them that's the way. But sometimes it does not go their way. Like what's normally like your approach? Like you had a student, like a 10-year-old student, they put a lot of work, train like 3-4 times a day, end up losing the competition. Like what would you say?
I think I try to somehow daily explain to them a little bit about my mindset about the competition and what really it's important to me. I think like I never tell my students that the most important thing is winning or the gold medal or performing amazing in the competition. I always explain to them that the daily progress that they make, it's what matters to me the most. And of course, I feel like the competition is just going to be the consequence of the work we put in. I feel like just like how you mentioned in the beginning, we had 60 kids and 30 kids got gold medal. It's a result of the work that they put in. But I think even the ones that did not win, it's not because they didn't train harder than the other ones or they aren't as good as the other ones. I think like they just need to start to feel comfortable and understand that the progress that they're going to make daily is going to bring them to the level where they're going to be capable of winning those competitions. If we're not at that level yet, then there's work that needs to be done. And there's no shortcuts for it, and there's nothing I can do as a coach other than try to push them and try to give my best efforts in the training room. During the competition, I felt that even some of the students, yet haven't developed the confidence in their techniques, the confidence in their game. So maybe they weren't able to go out there and do the same exact thing as they did in the training, as they do in the training. So I think I just try to explain to them, be very clear about the things that they can get better at, be very honest if it's the mistake that they've made, not in a hard way. I don't try to be hard on them and yell at them for what they did wrong and that they couldn't have done that mistake, because I've been there already. I've been there, I understand. I know how painful it can be to you, the fact that you lost already, and having, let's say, a coach that's just been difficult on you and just pointing that same mistake. So my job there in the competition is just to explain to them that tomorrow is just another day, nothing changes. The way how I look at them, the way how I see them doesn't change. I always like to point first the things that they did good in the match, so like they feel good about themselves, and then I start to slowly address the mistakes. Sometimes it wasn't like big mistake during the match, but it was really the before match. They were a little bit more nervous. They weren't as connected as they should be. But I feel like addressing first with the good things that they've done, I feel like it puts them in a comfortable position that, he's not so upset at me. This is not the end of the world. And I have progress to make. There are good things that I've done it, and there are things that I can get better at doing it. And the only person that can really help me at this moment is my professor on the mats and my parents supporting me, and I always try to bring the kid to the parent after the competition just for us to be in the same page, so I don't want to do this work and then maybe the parent's just a hard parent or the parent's frustrated at the competition, whatever happened. I feel like a lot of times happens when maybe there's a referee mistake or something happened like that. I had this whole conversation with my student, then I bring to the parent's like, he's mad, he's like explosive, and then just lets it out on the kid starts crying, and I feel like it just ruins my entire work. So I always like to bring the kid to the parent, explain what was the mistakes, what we can do to get better, set up a plan for them. So in this previous Pen Kids competition, I was bringing to the parents, I was explaining, hey, this coming week I want to work this on this. With this kid, he can get better at this. He's got much better, made huge progress from the previous competition with this specific position, or he's much more comfortable now, but it's a build-up. I feel like a lot of times people see the name of the competition as being so important and more important than the progress itself. So I always like to explain, hey, there's another competition next week, we're coming up, let's train for that one, and on that one we're going to make sure we fix it. And it's the progress that we make daily that's going to result into the gold medal in the competition.
And you mentioned something that I always tell you guys, and I tell the whole group, adults too. Like the most important thing to win a competition is to have a level that's above everyone else in the division. There's no other answer, especially to be consistent with good results. Like that's what you need. Like you fighting hard, you being aggressive. Like this is normally the parents' commands when they don't understand, right? Like fight hard, let's go, be aggressive, like this kind of stuff. But these are all
don't give up,
get out.
Yeah, don't give up. Get out. The kid is trying to get out. The kid is gonna try not to give up. But if you don't have a technical answer, and you don't have the confidence that you're better than the other people in your bracket, all of this information that you're getting, especially in an aggressive way, a lot of the parents and coaches I see in the competition it's a waste of time. I see a lot of times I go to the competition and I'm coaching and I listen to the parents or the other coach just yelling at the person, or they're punishing the person as the person is fighting. Why did you do that? While the person is still fighting. Or what are you doing while the person is still fighting? I think it's important to understand that the way you talk to the person, the type of information that you are giving to them, regardless of being your kid or not, you're either building more confidence in the work together, or you're damaging it. There's no other way. Even if you're the dad, you have that authority to say anything you want. If you create bad, like if you use like bad information to lead the conversation and like you're aggressive, like you are punishing your kid, they're gonna try to avoid any type of like communication with you later on. Or like they're not gonna trust you, or they're gonna be scared like when they go to the competition, because they know in case they lose, they're gonna have to deal with you. So like for me, like was never a matter of like punishing. The person's already punished when they lose. Like they're trying to win and they lose. Like losing first match or getting like a medal that's not gold is already a punishment for them, for a competitor. You don't need the extra punishment. What you need is guidance. Like you need to tell them, look, like that's what you did good, and that's what needs to be fixed and it needs to be worked. And there's so much more work ahead that we have time, we have a good environment that we are going to continue to work, and we're going to get there. Don't worry. The biggest problem to me is that a lot of the parents, like they think that the phase that their kids are living is extremely important in the sense of like getting titles, and it's not. Like nobody cares about like a kid's competition as soon as you turn into a juvenile. And the same way that once you become a black belt, nobody's gonna care about like your results as a blue, purple, and brown. Like every phase that you move in jiu-jitsu, like it gets like your results, they get erased and you're up to a new task, right? And while you're living this moment of like collecting experience as a kid, you should be training as much as possible, competing as much, especially if you're building a career, training, competing as much as possible, and trying to connect with the people that can help you in a very for a very long time. So like if you see that coach can take me all the way to black belt world champion, like these teammates will possibly be my teammates all the way to black belt world champion, like this people around me are the ones that are being a very positive influence, like will be like that for all my career. Like this is the type of stuff that you're trying to collect. When you have a coach or a parent that it's creating that punishment every time you fail, like you're really disconnecting, and you're gonna try to find a coach that does not do that, or a person that does not do that. And if you don't have any escape, you're gonna end up quitting. If you have an escape, you're gonna move to a different academy. And if it's your parent doing that, you're damaging the relationship, or your parents damaging the relationship with you more and more each day. And we'll get to the day where you can also separate from your parents too, and like live then like alone. So this is one thing that I learned, and I try to think about every time I'm like talking to my kids, especially if it's like correcting them. I always try to be like, to guide them and not be extremely aggressive or like create like any type of like crazy punishment, you know. I always try to create a solution for them. Look, like you have to put work, you have to do things differently, but there is a solution, just do it, you know. And I do that with adults, and like I do that with the kids too. And probably this is like the biggest mistake that I see in kids jiu-jitsu, right? Like parents and coaches being extremely aggressive, extremely like loud, and like trying to punish or like just destroy like the kid whenever they fail, thinking that because you said that the kid's gonna get so angry and that anger will result in a better approach, but in reality it's gonna create like a worse approach, because now the kid does not trust you, does not trust the coach, and the kid is angry, so they're gonna probably like damage the environment that you're creating, because like somebody else like will pay for that, you know. And a lot of times it's a weaker training partner, or is like a teammate, it's something like this. So for us, like I think it's something that we need to always, and it brings back to that topic that I was talking to you, Tainan. The parents, like the coaches, like they need to be able to speak up whenever they see a mistake and tell parents or tell like other people. Like if I see right now, like if I see a parent having the wrong approach, I will tell them. If like I see, of course, not a coach from another academy, because they have different ways of working, but like if it's really hard to, like, I never seen it happening at AOJ, but like if one day it happens, I would tell the coach too, like that's not the way like we should do. I think like we have like constantly like been talking, and we have like weekly like meetings where like we're talking about like what the way we coach the kids, what the goals are for the classes. And one of the things that we prioritize the most is the relationship with like everybody and the environment. So of course, like whenever you are punishing and criticizing so much somebody, you're damaging the relationship, like in every possible way. And there's one more thing that I want to talk about, and I think this is important too. Whenever like kids are building their careers, for the parents, of course, like it's like they get fully engaged and they invest a lot. They invest a lot of money too. They invest a lot of their time, and like I recognize that, and I have been experiencing that myself, traveling to competitions and then like paying for private lessons, like doing everything that like the parents do. Like I have been doing like the same thing, and a lot of times like the parents, like their main question is like when the investment's gonna start like returning, you know, like when my kid will get the sponsorship, and when my kid's gonna get like attention from the media and stuff like this. And and I have answered this question to multiple parents inside of AOJ and outside of AOJ in competitions too. And every time you're involving money with a sponsorship or like a media or a super fight, it becomes a business deal. Mm-hmm. And for a business deal, like needs to have is a two-way street. Like the person needs to have some type of return for that investment. And for kids and adults, like what's the goal whenever you want to have a sponsorship or you want to have visibility from the media? Like you need to be a good product. Yeah. You need to be a great display of their like whatever they're trying to sell. And if you have this mentality, you start adjusting everything, and like you're able to do it. But there's no way that you're gonna get a real sponsorship if you don't have the right results, if you don't have the right personality, if your environment around you like is not productive for that company. So for example, I'm gonna talk about AOJ, and I explain that to students and coaches. I always tell them, like, imagine you have like a regular store, and what you're gonna put on the window there for everyone that walks by to see the best products, right? Because you want people to see it, and they want them to walk into the door and buy more. That's what every business is trying to do, that every store. We sell jiu-jitsu, right? So what you're gonna display? The best products, the best techniques, the best, like the most charismatic students, like because you want people to experience the whole thing. So if the student is good talking to the camera, if the student has a very good technical level, if the student like brings like that energy that people want to be around, that's the perfect combo. Like you're, for sure, that type of person will get a lot of attention. But now, if you are the person that has a bad image, like always with a bad vibe, or like your family brings a bad vibe, or like you don't have a very high technical level, like in terms of business or like sponsorships, super fights, media, you're still not a good product yet. So like there's no way you can try to get a sponsor or any big opportunity. So I think like that's important for people to understand and parents to understand, because their action and the way the information that they give to the kids will impact in the way the kids behave, and it will reflect in this type of opportunity. For example, if I want my kid to be a champion, but I only care about the gold medal, I was like, I don't need to talk to anybody, don't need to be nice to anybody, don't need to do any extra like thing to be nice, just go there, train as hard as you can, try to kill everybody, and then get the gold medal. You might end up getting a kid that wins the competition, and will probably happen because that's the main focus. You're focusing on that, and eventually the kid will get it right and they will win. But the win itself is not gonna open doors. So like for us to work with jiu-jitsu, especially in the generation that we have right now, like you need to have a combo of being good at jiu-jitsu and have a very good personality that can empower the sales. Either if you're doing instructional, if you're an adult, or if you're a kid, you are promoting somebody else's work, the academy, the geek company, the sponsor, the other sponsor that you have. So like when the parents start understanding that, they start understanding much more the importance of teaching their kids to be better teammates, better students, good to everyone around them, to avoid any type of stress that they can cause in the environment, because that can 100% block any opportunity that your kid can have in the future. So like for you guys, since young age, you guys had that personality already. Like you guys always were good teammates, good students. The sponsorship happened like really early for you guys. Like for you, it happened around like when you were a little kid, and for Tainan when he was a juvenile, like around like 15, 16. And it all started like as you understand, when you guys joined AOJ and you start understanding like this mentality, like it started just going up more and more, and like your partnership with like the companies that were supporting you, like AOJ and other companies like sponsorships, like just start growing more and more, where like now you guys are like in a much more advanced position than you were when you first joined AOJ. And you guys think like that for the parents, like a lot of them understand that, or like what do you think like it's important for? Because like I try to communicate with the parents and understand, but a lot of times like the parents think that, I feel like at AOJ we have like a very good environment that is a result of like you guys inspired and all the other coaches to inspire the kids to do right. But like I think it's important for all the parents, like from every academy, to understand how the kids' behavior and the family behavior like will affect like all the opportunities, because nobody's gonna want to get in contact with people that like causes stress in their lives. Like nobody wants that for their lives, so like they will try to repel it, and they're gonna try to bring close everyone that connects and like and brings like the good energy. So you guys like look into the way jiu-jitsu is today, like what kind of advice in the sense of like building their image and growing and becoming capable of getting sponsorships and growing that, like what would you say to the parent, like what's important for their kids to do?
Me?
I'll start. I think for me it happened very young, like you said, and it's pretty cool because a lot of the sponsors that I started with stuck until now. I was sponsored by Kings when I was very young, and has been that way all the way up until black belt. So, I mean, I think that's just an example, and something like that came very natural, right? It wasn't something that was forced. Me and my parents, we weren't the type of people that would go messaging on Instagram, could you sponsor me? Like we would never have asked for a sponsorship. I think that should come very natural, and like you said, you have to have the complete package, right? You need to have the results, so you need to have a personality that's unique and brands want to be a part of. And I think I had that at a very young age. One, because I was always been a very hard worker, but my dad always would tell me about that. Like you have to have the full package. You need to be somebody that can talk. You need to be somebody that is likable and have good manners. So that was something that was always kind of enforced when I was growing up. And one thing that I learned over the years is that you need to be an asset and not a liability for the brand. So if you are wanting to get sponsored by somebody, you need to be somebody that is supporting the people that you want to support you. So if I wanted to get sponsored by whatever gi brand, I was wearing those gis and representing them because I wanted them to support me. And I wasn't wearing one gi brand and asking for another gi brand, can you sponsor me? Because I mean, you're already showing how the work is going to be. It's that's just like it's like a deal, like you were saying. So I think it's a two-way street. Both people need to be working. It should be a benefit for both parts, and that's how you make for a good relationship. And nowadays, the sponsors that I do have are people that I have a good relationship. It doesn't even feel like a transaction anymore, and it shouldn't be like that. I think it's the same thing for a lot of people ask about like super fights. When should my kids start doing super fights? And I think it's the same exact thing. I think that should come based on your results, and it shouldn't be something that's forced. Everything comes in phases, and it's not like right now if like a lot of these kids that I see nowadays that are already training hard, already competing, and doing all the big tournaments, it's not like that sponsorship is going to make or break whether they're going to be able to do this competition or whether they're going to be able to have a gi to train in. Most of those kids already come from good families, and the families are already investing in it, so it shouldn't be something that you're trying to force and trying to make happen right away. It should be something that comes more natural, and I know that at least with my family, if I didn't have those sponsors, I would still be able to train. Everything is gonna continue, but of course it's a result of your hard work, and the more loyal you are to those brands, the better those relationships are, the less you're jumping from brand to brand. If you look, there's a lot of athletes that end up with one brand one year, and then the next year they're wearing something else, and every year is changing, and that shows that the relationship probably isn't very tight. And I think if you have a tight relationship with the people that you want to support you, they'll continue supporting you all the way up.
Yeah, and one thing that, before I ask Tainan another question, one thing that you mentioned, I feel like it's really good. I think it's important to just do the work, and then people will look to connect with you. So a geek company or like academy like AOJ, like if you're doing the work and you are a very good example of like what they want to display, they will reach out and they're gonna like present the opportunity to you. I think like it's important to understand that there's a phase for everything, and you're not gonna get rich as a kid in jiu-jitsu. You're not gonna make a lot of money, and it's not gonna even pay off for all the investment that you're making. I think like even the small sponsorships that happen in the beginning of your career as a kid, they're just training for you to, like you said, like just to show how you're gonna behave like when you're a black belt, or how you're gonna, like what type of work you're gonna do when you're a black belt. So I think like everything that happens in this early phase is like they're like a little experiences that are gonna teach you what it's gonna be in the future, you know, like sponsorships, super fights, like big competitions, choosing a different academy, maybe if you have to move on to the next level, like everything that you face as a kid, that you can face as a kid, like you're gonna face like in a much more like intense way as an adult, as a black belt. And I think like it's just training, you know, everything, the victories, like the losses, like everything. And that's how the parents also should just collect all the experience that you can. Like your kid's not gonna be a loser just because they lost Spank Kids or they lost like, a competition. Like if you continue to do the work and the work is consistent, if you guys have like a very strong support system, then like everything's gonna happen. It's just a matter of time, and kids mature differently too. Some of them get good really early. Some of them are gonna become good only as a juvenile or later on, and that's fine. Just stay consistent, trust the work, make sure the environment around you, it's the right environment for your goals. And this is something that I want to talk about to you, Tainan. For sure, like whenever we're talking about sponsorships and opportunities, any kid that stands out a lot can get, like even if they're from a small academy, but whenever like you are in a company that already does a lot of work and a lot of, like for example, like I feel like with AOJ, a lot of like the kids sponsorships are gonna come from the desire of the brand to connect with AOJ, not the athlete itself, especially at a very young age. And I used to explain to you guys that a lot too, because for example, like if the company or a smaller company or a company like they don't want to make a big investment and sponsor the black belt world champion, a good way for them to merge into that work system is to sponsor like the first layer, which is the kids, and then you sponsor a bunch of kids. You have your gi brand introduced inside of that academy, and that academy work, which we already do, like videos and like good results, will end up like showing your brand. So it's not a lot of investment, and you start getting a good return for that investment. And a lot of times, like, parents get this, like, they get, oh, my kid, like, the brand is saying that my kid's the best or stuff, but in reality, like, the brand is, like, trying to put their brand inside of, like, the system that you are in. And that's fine. I think, like, even that, it's a result of the right choice of, like, being inside of, like, a good system, and, like, being inside of, like, a place where, like, it's producing a lot of good results. My question to you will be the last one, Tainan. It's I feel like you have been, like, I remember, like, multiple times, like, in the beginning, where you were offered, like, sponsorships, and we thought was not the ideal for what, like, for the stage that you were. Like, was, like, I remember when you were, like, a juvenile, or like in the beginning you got some deals, and we were like, oh, like, no, I prefer if you just use, like, AOJ Gui or something like this. And we passed on. And for sure, if it was just, like, a regular parent, like, they would, like, okay, like, that's the best opportunity. Like, someone is finally recognizing my kid's work. I'm gonna assign the contract. And then, like, you get, like, a 2 gi per year, but you feel good because somebody is offering something to your kid, and you end up, like, getting the sponsorship. But I had a lot of, like, contact with you in the early stage, and we skipped a lot of, like, this opportunities, and eventually, like, when you got the sponsorships, there were good sponsorships that were, like, advanced for the age that you were. And what do you think, like, what would you recommend to parents, like, to, like, focus 100% in the jiu-jitsu training and building the skills? Or you think, like, it's important for them to also be looking for, like, or, like, trying to get the sponsors? What do you think, like, it's, like, important? Like, as you're talking to a parent that does not do jiu-jitsu, doesn't understand anything, their kid is for them, their kid is the best, the kid's winning competitions, like, what the priority should be for them, like, in terms of, like, making their kid become more noticeable?
I think I have a different opinion about it, just because my goal, I mean, you explained this to me earlier on, that my goal has always been to build my branding and to make sure that I build the skills that were necessary to be eventually business partners with different brands. So I've always kind of, like, looked at myself and things that I could improve in terms of skills that I needed to work on. And I feel like the most important thing to me was always the academy and the future that I wanted to build for myself. So I knew that, or even to this day, I know that the sponsorship, it's temporary. I know that while I'm competing, while my name it's been displayed, and, you know, there's constantly going to be people looking to sponsor and attach their brand to my name. But I feel like what's really going to be building my future is going to be my work. It's going to be, you know, what I do daily. So I'm very passionate with teaching, and not just the kids, but adults as well. And I know that it's the path that eventually I'm going to be on. I'm training that right now. Like, I teach every single day. I teach the kids program, but I see it as my college, right? As something that I'm really studying deep every single day in order to provide a good future for me. I feel like there's a line that separates sponsorship and support. I can't say that I never had support. I feel like because of the work that I did daily at AOJ, because of the kids that I've helped when I was teaching, a lot of the parents, a lot of the people that were there, they support me. Maybe paying for my competition, or maybe paying for my air ticket to go to a competition. And they're never brought up, or they're never in my gi, but they appreciate the work that I did daily. And I felt like they saw how passionate I was and how serious I was about taking this job very seriously. And I think, like, sometimes people, they confuse that. They see, like you said, 2 gis a year as sponsorship. I feel like that's more a support. The branding support you. Yes, it deserves the credit, but I think we'd start talking about sponsorship when you have something to give back, when it's pretty much a business partner, it's a partnership. So I always try to see that, and even when I'm signing deals, I try to see how even that brand can add to my branding and how my branding can help the business to grow. And I feel like at the end of the day, after everything is done, after you're done with your competition, it's always going to be about your work. It's never going to be, I feel like sponsorship is not going to pay and provide food to your family forever. They will do for a certain period of your lifetime, probably during the competition, probably when your name is at the top level, is at the spotlight. But I know eventually it's going to end. It's going to come down to the work that I do daily. So that's what I focus on the most. The academy has been my priority since the beginning. Teaching, helping the kids, helping the adults, just push on to the next generation. And it all comes back. I feel like it's never, maybe sometimes you might be struggling with something here and there, but it all goes back, right? I feel like prop goes to you guys too for building such a strong team and group inside AOJ where we support each other, right? So I've seen many people that they're not competitors, they're just normal clients at AOJ, and they see a kid chasing their dream, they're giving everything for that, and they go and then they help, So if I count everything as a sponsorship, I would have many sponsorships. So I like to separate between support and sponsor, So whenever the timing is right, I feel like that's when the contract comes in. That's when the things are more serious. Like you guys mentioned, everything at being a kid is just a preparation for what can be done in the future, for what the kid can achieve and things that can be done in the sport. The sport's continuing to grow, so I think we need to make sure that we stay true and loyal to our values and to what we believe in. I've seen many times, many brands, gi brands, they come in, they sponsor everybody 1 year, and then next year they file for bankrupt, or I don't know what happens, they just disappear, right? So I feel like it's just, you need to stay true to what you believe in and what supports you. So the academy has always been my biggest support, and I just try to give back, and I feel like you provided everything that I have this far.
Yeah, and I feel like both of you, just to finish, both of you guys have done a great job so far with I feel like being a very good representative of the work that we do in every sense, not just as a instructor, but as a competitor, as a leader. You guys do everything that you can to represent the academy in the best way. And I think the last advice, especially for parents, just after paying kids, I think the main lesson or the main advice will go to parents of young kids is it's important. If your kid is just training jiu-jitsu for fun, but they're not gonna build a career of it, of course, then there are other priorities. But when your kid is building a career of jiu-jitsu, I think it's important for you to study the market just like how you would do in any other type of work, And when you study the market, you're gonna see that there's two paths to go only. One, it's for you to be entertainer forever. You're gonna win competitions for as long as you can, and then you have to be winning in order to be making good money, and then eventually you can go to MMA if you want, become a star, and that's how you do it. With more super fights, you can make a little bit more, but I feel like it's a hard path to become, to make a lot of money because there's not a lot of competitions, and your results in the competition will, your income will depend on your results in the competition, which is very risky. So this is one path to go, just be entertainer. And the other path to go is to become to become a company like yourself, to have business deals with many different people, or to build your own company and use jiu-jitsu as your main tool to you're sharing jiu-jitsu as your main tool to provide income And I think this is a much safer way right now for like what we are living and what we are experiencing. You can sell your knowledge in many different ways, online, in person, seminars, like you can do many different things. And this is right now like the best form of like creating income in jiu-jitsu and building a company. And of course, like there are other ways too, but I think like these two are probably like the two that stand out the most now. That are like the ones that people are trying to pick between the two. And whenever you're thinking about taking the route of doing basically what we are doing, right? Like using the wins in the competition, the visibility that you get to partner with the people, to create like to become good coaches and eventually display your techniques in the competition in order to sell those techniques in person and online. Like that's the work that we have been doing. And I think that the parents, like they need to kind of see which path like their kid will most likely take, so they start recognizing which skills will be necessary. So you don't get in a situation where you're criticizing your kid all the time and you spend 15 years of your life criticizing somebody in order for them to get a gold medal, and then eventually you want them to start getting confident and teaching other people. It's not gonna happen because for 15 years they were criticized, like you're telling them they're not good enough or they're doing something wrong, and then overnight you want them to change and start being super confident and telling people what to do. They're not gonna have the courage, they're not gonna have the confidence, they're not gonna have the attitude to do that. So whenever you are building somebody to communicate with other people, to create like a partnership with other people, like you teach them in the way you talk to them every day. Like you teach them in the way they interact with other people, the other parents, other students, and you show them by doing the same. So I think like this is the main lesson I feel like in jiu-jitsu. It's like if your kid's gonna be an athlete, try to recognize which path they're gonna take. And of course, winning competition will be like for especially the younger ones, like the priority to try to build their brand. But everything that happens in the process, the way you communicate in the environment that you bring into to the academy, to the competitions, is going to reflect in everything that's going to happen in their future. And there is no way to avoid it, and there is no way to change it. And this is probably like the thing that I have noticed the most, because I have my kids training jiu-jitsu, and I have experience like coaching people from little kids all the way to black belt champions. And one thing that I try to do the most is like recognize the patterns, the things that worked and the things that did not work. So as a parent, I can make the right decision for my kids. And the parents, what they need to do is like listen to the people that have more experience than them in that aspect, so they can, I think they can make less mistakes. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it was really good. I feel like, I hope like this conversation, like I want to put it on YouTube or AOJ Plus or both, and give people access to just to see like a little bit of like how we think and how we work, and or like opinions about like this matter. And I hope like this can influence a lot of parents to make the right decision, and can help a lot of the young kids to be better like teammates, to be better athletes, to make better decisions, and to grow up and be very successful in the future. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.